a duty to repair. So let's make it clear. There is a debt that does exist. This country has taken so much from black folks and has a debt it owes because for over 400 years into this very day, this country has stolen black labor, black lives, black futures. Industries were built and maintained through the subjugation of black people in this country, and wealth was built and maintained through the discriminatory policies that still plague us to this day. And to be clear, some people directly benefited from it or are direct beneficiaries of it. We have systems that create and perpetuate imbalances and balances in our society, and you either benefit from it or you are disenfranchised by it. And black people continue to be disenfranchised and harmed by these systems. Others receive advantages from it.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the woke black Democrats who are once again reintroducing a reparations bill, okay, to send trillions of dollars to black America because of systemic racism, Jim Crow, and slavery. Now, I want to go ahead and play the clip of these clowns talking about this bill and how necessary it is and essentially wasting everybody's time because they do this basically almost every year. Okay. And, you know, it didn't get done under Joe Biden. It's not going to get done under Republicans. It's never going to happen. Like, it's literally never going to happen. Okay. But, you know, they put this out here in order to try to get black people to vote for them by essentially attacking a white man, boo-hoo, whine, and crying racism, and pulling the victimhood card and demanding people, taxpayers, give black people trillions of dollars for something that, again, a vast majority of black people never went through. Take a look.
The reparations movement is one with a long history, dating back to the early sins of this nation when our African ancestors were kidnapped, raped, shipped, warehoused, and enslaved our ancestors whose labor built this country. When I think about what we take on in this moment, as I, have shared so many times before, several years ago, an indigenous elder challenging me to be a better ancestor than descendant. And that call to action has never left me, to be a better ancestor than descendant. And that is why I was so honored to take on H.R. 40 from the late, great Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, alongside Congresswoman Summer Lee's Reparations Now Resolution, our collective legislative efforts are the catalyst for transformative and reparative justice. They are an acknowledgement of the harm and an end to the neglect. They are an investment in healing and a departure from gaslighting. They represent long overdue restitution for black folks' contributions in every aspect of American society, with the coordinated attacks coming out of the White House with this occupant.
Colleagues of mine who have stood with us, who are continuing to stand with us as we fight back against the whitewashing of our history, the obstruction of justice, and the flat-out denial of our voices in black lives. I am deeply humbled today to be reintroducing the Reparations Now Resolution. This resolution was first led by my sister in service, the formidable Cori Bush, who has, thank you. Sister Cori has long sought to repair the injustices that plague our communities, has stood on the front line on intersectional movements, and continues to do that. From whether she's inside of the House of Congress or she's outside, we can always rely on her to stand up and to come back and to stand with us. And to be clear, she and I and we stand here not just as a member and former member of Congress, but of descendants of enslaved ancestors, of people whose labor built this country, whose humanity had been denied for centuries. So we're here to say that there's no more waiting, no more watering down, no more putting justice on layaway. Black folks are owed more than thoughts and prayers. Yes. And we're owed repair, we're owed restitution, and we're owed justice. We're reintroducing this critical resolution today because, contrary to the desperate, defensive, and deeply inaccurate arguments against justice and equity in this country, attacks on equality, black economic opportunity, black health, black wealth, and so much more are not just a ghost of the past, but they are a very present and ongoing legacy that we are living through right now.
And that's why we're here today, because we're not asking for a handout. No, we're demanding justice. We are demanding what is owed. We are demanding reparations. But they tell us it's too expensive. Well, was it too expensive when they gave out land grants to white settlers? Was it too expensive when they bailed out the banks that preyed on our neighborhoods? Was it too expensive when they handed billions to corporations that built their fortunes off the backs of enslaved people? No, It wasn't too expensive then, and it's not too expensive now. So we say to the halls of power, stop telling us to wait. We have waited for generations. We say to our allies, some who are standing up here today, but these are the ones that are fierce coming with us. Stand with us, speak with us, fight with us, and we thank you for doing so. And we say to the rest of America, if you are truly committed to justice, as you try to say you are, you cannot look away. You cannot turn your back on the demand for reparations, because until there is repair, there will be no justice. And where there is no justice, we will continue to fight. We're not going anywhere. We are awake. We are organized, and we will win. Reparations now.
No, you're not going to win, right? You're not going to win, okay? I mean, do I really have to make a whole video about why this is silly and this is just not going to happen, okay? It's too expensive, okay? Again, these people are talking about like $20 trillion. It's not happening, right? It's just not going to happen, okay? It is not something that is very practical. Also, there are constitutional issues with it, okay? I'm not sure how it will ever overcome the equal protection clause. None of these race hustlers ever present any arguments about why that it would do that, right? Or how it would be able to do that. Okay, I understand that some of these people claim that, well, it's lineage based. It's not race based. It's lineage based. Okay, first and foremost, these people are not writing the legislation in that way, right? They're not saying that FBAs are going to get this. Even if they say that FBAs are going to get this, right? There's also issues with FBA or freedmen as a legal status, because historically it's just not, right? Like, a lot of people try to say, well, FBA is a tribe, and it's like, no, it's not like a tribe in the way that like Native Americans like have recognized like tribes, right? Have legal status. It's not the same thing. Like, when you talk about the recognition of Native American tribes, you're talking about this happening through sovereignty and treaties, which is different than citizenship and civil rights, which is the argument that, again, is made by the FBAs. Like, those are not the same thing, right? Like, you're oversimplifying like legal status, okay? And that's what they don't understand. And also, it'd be very hard to prove who actually is a descendant of freedmen, okay? And the documents to prove it, what documents count, what documents don't count. Also, is this discriminating against black people who can't provide the documents, right? Like, if I'm black and I am 100% convinced that I descended from the freedmen tribe, right? Okay, they use that in order to make it race neutral, right? This is their attempt to make it race neutral. So again, they can overcome the equal protection clause, right? This is what they argue, okay? The problem is that if I'm black and I say, I know I descended from freedmen and I'm owed reparations, I should get these reparations, and I can't prove it, then you're discriminating against me because I'm still entitled to it, but I'm not getting it because I happen to not have the documentation, which is not my fault, right? That has absolutely nothing to do with me, okay? Because my family members or whatever didn't keep the documentation. That's discriminatory in and of itself, because the whole point of the reparations is to try to right a wrong, right? It is to try to compensate the descendants of slaves. So for all the black people who can't prove that they're descendants of slaves, that in and of itself is discriminatory, right? Because that's the point. The point is supposed to compensate the people who actually were affected. And if you make a claim, you say, hey, I was affected, but I just don't have the documentation to prove it, which again is plausible, reasonable, considering how this stuff happened over 100 years ago, that the documentation is not going to exist, which I guarantee you a vast majority of these individuals don't have a documentation that can prove it, right? So if that's the case, again, that in and of itself, again, creates discrimination, and it just makes it a very like legally weak like case, right? Like, it's gonna get challenged instantly. It's never gonna pass Congress, right? Let's start there. But even if it did, it's gonna be challenged instantly, and it's not gonna stand up. It's just not gonna stand up in the courts, right? We know this. So again, you know, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. I'm just trying to give people like a realistic viewpoint on this topic, right? And a lot of people think, oh, you're selling out, you're doing this, you're doing it. It's like, well, if I came up here and I advocated for reparations, right? If I lied to black people and said, we're going to get reparations, right? It's going to happen, okay? We're going to get paid back from the white man. I would be a bad person to say something like that, to come up here and to advocate for something like that. knowing in my head that this is not going to happen and it's a waste of time. I really feel that it's not going to happen and it's a waste of time. So I wouldn't even lie to people, okay? And make them believe that this is something that's going to happen. Get people's hopes up, right? We've seen all the videos of the black folks in California demanding $5 million checks.
Pierce.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Well, I think you know why I'm here. That's why I'm always coming. Where's the money? Where's the cash? Where's the check? Don't be afraid. Please don't be afraid. $5 million. San Francisco's already made a move. $5 million is nothing. We need to do this. We need to get the money. Where's the money? Let's get the money now. $223,000 for housing is not enough. We're looking at just the redlining. There's predatory lending. If you're African American, chances are you're paying more on your mortgage for the same amount of money as somebody else. And that's not right. So let's get the money. Where's the money?
Yeah, I don't want people doing that because that's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, right? Democrats dangled that carrot over black folks' head in California and San Francisco for years, right? And they kept pulling it up, right? They made black people jump. They say, hey, jump, right? Jump, okay? And they pulled it up every single time. Every single time. Gavin Newsom rejected, told the black Democrats, made the black Democrats reject their own reparations legislation, right? Because he knows it's politically untenable, right? If that bill ever passed in California, Democrats might actually lose the state, right? That's how politically toxic legislation like that is, which is why it's never going to pass, right? It's never going to pass. So, again, I'm just saying this because I don't want people to waste their time and energy. I would rather have people like spend their time and energy on the closest thing that they're going to get to reparations, which is taking advantage of the fact that as a black person, you live in right now, the greatest country on earth, in my opinion, where you have the most opportunity to build the most wealth because everywhere else on the planet, right, especially as a black person, you don't have the same opportunities that you have in America, right? In America, it is possible for you to build wealth and to quote unquote get your reparations by taking advantage of the fact that we have an abundance of technology and resources, okay? And you don't need to have super high income. You don't need to be born into wealth. You just need to have good financial habits and you can build wealth, okay? According to Ramsey Solutions, 93% of millionaires built their wealth not through inheritance or high incomes, but through just consistent saving and investing. This is what they did. Because let's have a real talk conversation here, right? This is not just a black America thing. This is honestly just the average American thing, right? Most people are living above their means. Let's be real. Most people are living above their means. Let's be real. We have a debt-driven society. A lot of people are living and spending money that they don't have on things that they don't need. This is why I didn't find President Trump's comments about the dolls from China to be controversial. He was like, yeah, we don't need... you don't need $10. You don't, right? The point that he was making is that people don't need to buy a bunch of junk from China. We don't need to buy excess things, right? We don't have to do that. You can save that money and make it grow, or you can pay off debt. I mean, we've all seen the Cadillac or the Mercedes-Benz, the BMW in the trailer park, right? In the projects. We've all seen that, right? We've all seen the nice rims in the projects, in the trailer park, right? The car is worth more than the house. And the car is a depreciating asset. A depreciating asset. And the house is worth less than the car, right? But you mean to tell me, oh, well, it's not possible for that person to build wealth, right? Well, how do they afford that car? How do they afford the car? Because that certainly is not a necessity, right? Especially when you're living in a trailer, right? When you're living in the hood, all your wealth is in the car and the wealth is declining, right? It's declining, right? It's like burning money on fire. This is what people do. But we see that in America and only in America, right? Only in America do we see anything like that. We don't see stuff like that anywhere else in the world. But you're trying to tell me, oh, well, it's impossible. I can't, take some time to educate myself, to make myself financially literate and understand how to create a budget, how to minimize my expenses, right? Don't spend more money than I earn, okay? And to minimize the necessities, okay? And save 10 to 20, 30% of my income. Learn about the capital markets, learning about investing, okay? It is not hard, right? If you know nothing at all about investing, right? Let's assume that you don't have any debt. If you can save 20 to 30% of your income and you just, put it in the S&P 500, which is like the standard, right? Like the market, the standard, okay? The bare minimum, and you have a somewhat long time horizon, 10, 20 years, you don't even have to think about it. You just do that. Just do that and you will build wealth, right? You will build more wealth than you think, right? You'll build a lot of wealth doing that. Now, let me give you a secret, because the race hustlers will never give you this type of game that I'm about to give you right now, okay? Because they don't know anything outside of begging the white man for money, right? That, the white man is not going to give them, okay? But if you build up that solid portfolio, right? Let's just say you build up $100,000 or $250,000. And I know it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but it is possible if you maximize your savings while at the same time striving to increase your income, right? If you do those two things, right? You minimize your expenses, you can do it, right? But it takes time, it takes effort. But let's just say you save up a certain amount of money. Now you're eligible to get loans from the bank that you otherwise couldn't get because you have collateral, aka you have securities and assets that the bank can use, right, to now give you access to more capital, right? So when black people complain about, we don't have access to loans to start businesses and such and such and such, it's like, well, again, if you save and invest and you build up your assets, then the bank will certainly give you access to certain types of loans, right? Using the investments that you have, and you can get access to capital to start your own business or start up or to, maybe even purchase your own home or whatever. And it's not credit based, right? And in a low interest environment, it can be attractive, as long as, interest rates are stable and stuff like that, because, some of these loans have rates that are variable. So it kind of goes with the market, right? But again, in certain environments, like a low interest rate environment, again, that can be a cheap access to capital that people need to use it to start businesses or do whatever, right? It's out there, like it's available, but you have to apply yourself and learn and have a plan and stick to the plan, right? And access to wealth is at your fingertips, right? Literally. I mean, we have more technology than we've ever had before. I mean, the opportunity is there. That's probably the closest thing you're going to get to reparations, right? And if you want to maximize your reparations, then the more you learn, the more risks that you can take, okay? The more you go out and you grow your income, okay? You grow your income and you keep your expenses the same, right? So ideally, as your income grows, your percentage, right? The amount that you spend in expenses should not go up, right? And that's the trap that people fall into, okay? People will get a new job, and then the first thing they'll do is that they will upgrade their lifestyle. Why are you doing that, right? You should be saving your money. You shouldn't be upgrading your lifestyle because you got a new job, right? Or because you're making a little bit more money. You actually should be using that money that you're now making, that excess money that you're making, and you should be putting that back. You should be saving more. And obviously, when you get to a certain point, you want to splurge, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to treat yourself to a nice vacation or whatever. But again, that is something that should not be done in excess, right? You should earn that, right? Earn that. It's going to feel a lot better. You're going to feel a lot better because you're going to be like, oh, I'm going on this vacation and, I have, all this money saved up. I've invested all this money. Like, I can actually really afford it, right? I can go on this vacation and I can afford it, and I'm not taking out any debt or anything like that. Like, it's paid for and I'm not sweating it, right? I'm not sweating it, but that takes discipline. That takes delayed gratification, educating yourself, right? That takes putting in effort, right? It's not a handout. It's something that you got to go get, right? You got to go do. And there are going to be opportunities. Look at President Trump's legislation. When you talk about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, right? I'm just saying, if I was an overtime eligible person, if the hours are there, after that piece of legislation passes, I'm maxing out, especially if I am a young man in my 20 to 40s, right? And I'm really trying to get it. you better take advantage of stuff like that. Don't go blow the money. Put that money aside. Put it in the market. Invest it. Save it long term. Live below your means. That's how you build wealth. And you just keep doing that, right? For a really long time. It's not hard. But a lot of people, I think, really, are addicted to just spending money on things they don't need. I mean, I'm a minimalist, right? So that's the perspective I speak from, right? I'm a person, I don't have a lot of needs. Like, I'm kind of like a bare bones type of guy, right? That's just my personality. So maybe it's just me. But, my point is that it requires sacrifice. And here's the ultimate sacrifice, especially when people talk about, quote unquote, generational wealth, right? The way generational wealth is built is that you had that one person in the family that was very successful, that did make that sacrifice, and didn't just spend all the money in his lifetime or her lifetime. They passed it down. They say, you know what? I'm not going to spend all the money that I saved. Like, I'm going to pass it down to my descendants so that now they have a head start. They have more assets. They have more money that they can leverage and use in order to continue to grow the net worth of the family overall, the wealth of the family overall, okay? That requires the ultimate sacrifice, okay? To not just think about yourself and your lifetime, but to think about your kids and their lifetime and saving for them, right? It's a very hard thing to do. And a lot of people don't want to make that sacrifice, right? They just don't want to. And that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, if you're not willing to make that sacrifice in a country where it's basically the only country really where you have the opportunity to do this, right? You have the best opportunity to do this in America. No other country has capital markets instability like America, okay? No other country has this mechanism, right? That we have to build wealth. No other country has it except here. If you can't do it here, then you're not gonna be able to do it anywhere else in the world. But because you can do it here, that's the closest thing that a lot of these people are gonna get to reparations. That's the closest thing that you're gonna get, right? I'm just being realistic. So instead of putting your energy into reading about, oh, why is it that black people deserve reparations? Why is it that we're owed a debt? Take that energy and actually put it into something constructive that's actually gonna get you closer to what you really want, because the people want reparations, right? These people are asking for reparations because they want money. It's a wealth transfer. They want wealth. That's what it is. You want money, right? So again, you're better off actually putting your effort into activities and things that are going to help you make money and to build wealth. And begging for reparations is not one of those activities, right? That's just the honest to God truth. So, hey, the last thing I got to say about this is that I hope that Democrats run on these types of issues, right? I hope that these women are the face of the Democrat Party. Because if the progressive win, right? If they actually win the Democrat primary, right? If it's AOC or even if it's Kamala, really, again, issues like this, yeah, they're going to come up, right? People are going to be talking about, okay, reparations, right? They're going to be asking about reparations. Can you imagine AOC being asked about reparations? She can't say no, because if she says no, then she's going to upset the progressive base, right? And if she says yes, then yeah, I mean, she's basically hurting her chances of winning a general election. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to these type of issues. It's a very politically toxic issue. And that's why it's just kind of like, okay, well, hey, if Democrats want to keep bringing this up, if they want to keep pushing this, right, if they want to keep being associated with this, right, then, hey, that's the choice of this party. But again, when you push this type of legislation, you're not going to win general elections, right? You're just going to lose. So, it is what it is. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.